welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make 4 DIY wreaths. I made all these wreaths using supplies that I found outdoors for free. The only thing I paid for was the hot glue. Most of these wreaths could be used in any season. Some of them have more of a fall look, but you could make some tweaks to make them work for any time of year. To start, I'm gathering some grapevine that I have growing in my garden like a weed. It's best to work with this right away before it starts to dry out so it will hold its shape. I'll be using this grapevine for the base of all the wreaths I'm making today. You could also do this using some wispy branches like a willow branch or a skinny flexible branch from a tree. Just make sure you form it into the shape you want it to be before you let it dry out. The first wreath I made was a dried floral wreath. I went through my gardens and clipped a few stems a couple weeks ahead of time. I hung them upside down to dry, and when it was time to make the wreath, they were dried just enough that they would hold their shape and look beautiful in the wreath. Now we're making a wreath using the tassels from some corn stalks. For this one, I clipped the tops off of all the corn stalks and then stuck them into the wreath. I didn't even have to glue these ones, but I did just to make sure they stayed nice and secure. And this made a nice neutral wreath that I could use any time of year. The next wreath is a magnolia leaf wreath. For this one, I gathered some magnolia leaves and placed them round and round the wreath, layering them on top of each other again. I wanted this one to have more of a fall look, so after I placed all the green leaves on, I went back in and chose some leaves that had already turned yellow and placed them in between all the leaves. Or you can just leave it green to make it work year-round. This one will eventually dry out and start to look a little more crumbly, but if you wanted to make it last longer, you could use a few methods to preserve the leaves, such as painting them with Mod Podge on either side to make them last a little longer and hold their color, or soaking them in glycerin. I was trying to keep this project as cheap as possible, so I just used them the way they were, and I'm just going to let them dry out. And they've been drying out for a while now, and they still have a beautiful green color. next wreath uses the corn husks from corn cobs. This one works best if you husk your corn first and let the leaves dry out a bit before you add it to your wreath. Otherwise it might change shape as it sits there and dries. I fanned the husks around the wreath and just kept layering them on top of each other until it made a nice full wreath. And for the final touches, I took some ornamental corn with some burgundy leaves and just added them to the top. But you could skip that part if you want a more neutral wreath. This one does have a more fall look to me, but if you skipped the burgundy leaves, I think you could get away with using this wreath anytime. This could also work with any type of broad leaf that you can find, such as lily foliage. Just clip some leaves and lay them out to dry before you use them. Those are all the wreaths I have for today. I was really looking for some projects I could make as cheap as possible, and it can't get much cheaper than this. Unless I didn't use the hot glue, then it could be cheaper. But I was okay with paying for a bit of hot glue. Thank you so much for watching. Come back next time for more DIYs, home decor, recipes, and more. Bye!